Today, we're going to go undercover. Our mission? Well, it's to unmask a kind of secret agent of grammar, one that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time, pulling the strings in our sentences. Its codename? The subjunctive. Okay, so let's just dive right into the mystery. Think about this sentence for a second. If I were a millionaire, have you ever stopped and thought, wait a minute, shouldn't that be was? I mean, come on, we say I was, he was. That's the rule we all learned, right? But for some reason, it just sounds right here. So what on earth is going on? Well, the answer to our whole were versus was puzzle lies with something I like to call a grammatical ghost. It's this feature of our language that kind of haunts certain sentences, and it just seems to bend the rules we thought we knew. But don't worry, like any good ghost story, there's a perfectly logical explanation behind all the spooky stuff. And this right here is the key that unlocks the entire mystery. See, we're so used to thinking that verbs are all about time, past, present, future. But in this case, the timeline doesn't really matter. It's all about the speaker's attitude. Are they stating a fact, or are they talking about something else, like a wish, a doubt, maybe even a total fantasy? And to really get a handle on this whole attitude thing, we need to introduce a new idea. It's not just about tense, it's about tense versus something called mood. And they might sound kind of similar, but trust me, they do two completely different jobs in a sentence. All right, let's break this down. Tense is the easy one. We all get this. It just tells you when something is happening, past, present, or future. I walked, I walk, I will walk. Super simple. Mood, on the other hand, is all about the vibe of the sentence. It signals the speaker's attitude. Are you stating a cold, hard fact? Are you barking out a command? Or are you stepping into that world of wishes and doubts and all the what-ifs? So in English, we're really just dealing with three main moods. You've got the indicative, that's your basic mood for stating facts. The sky is blue. Done. Then you've got the imperative, that's for giving orders. Look at the sky. And then you have our mystery guest, our grammatical ghost, the subjunctive. This is the one that handles all the fun stuff, the maybes, the what-ifs, and all the wishes. All right, it is time. Let's pull the mask off this ghost. We're going to formally introduce the subjunctive mood and figure out what its real mission is in our language. So here it is, the official definition. The subjunctive is the mood for anything that isn't a straight-up 100% fact. It lives in the world of imagination, a possibility, and even in really formal requests. You can think of it like this. It's the grammar we use for both our biggest dreams and our strictest demands. So here's the big takeaway. The second you step away from concrete, provable facts, the moment you start a sentence with what if, or I wish, or I suggest, you've officially crossed over into subjunctive territory. It really is the language of unreality. Okay, so we know what it is, but how do we actually find it out in the wild? Well, our little secret agent has a few distinct disguises. So let's put together a little field guide for how to spot it. Now, this is where the verb forms get a little weird, and this is where we get the answer to our original question. In what's called the present subjunctive, you just use the verb's simplest base form, so there's no S for he or she. But check out the past subjunctive. For the verb to be, it uses were for every single person. I were, you were, he were, they were. That's the reason we say if I were you. It's not a mistake, it's a completely different mood. So where does this ghost like to hang out? Well, it tends to show up in four main situations. You want to keep an eye out for these clues: demands and suggestions, hypothetical situations, wishes, and some of those old-fashioned phrases we still use. Okay, first up, demands. Look at the sentence. Normally, we'd say he apologizes, right, with the S on the end. But here, the subjunctive strips that verb down to its most basic form, apologize. It's a little signal of formality and urgency that you'll find after words like demand, suggest, or insist. And here we are, we've come full circle, the classic hypothetical, if I were rich. So why were? Because you're not rich. You're signaling that this is pure fantasy, a situation that is contrary to fact. You can't use the factual word was. I mean, this one example pretty much sums up the subjunctive's entire job. And you know what? It's the exact same logic when it comes to wishes. By definition, a wish is for something that isn't real. The person speaking isn't taller, so they use the subjunctive were to express that desire for an unreal state. You'll see this pop up all the time after phrases like I wish or if only. And finally, you can find the subjunctive almost like a fossil, just preserved in these common expressions. These are basically leftovers from a time when this mood was way more common. So when someone says, "Long live the king," they're not stating a fact, they're expressing a hope, a wish. It's the subjunctive, preserved perfectly in our language like a mosquito in amber. It's pretty cool when you think about it. So you might be thinking, okay, if it's kind of old-fashioned and a little weird, why does this grammatical ghost still hang around? Why haven't we just simplified things and gotten rid of it completely? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. The subjunctive survives because it does a job that nothing else can. It gives us nuance. It's that subtle but important difference between saying, "The meeting is at 9 a.m., which is a fact, and saying, "I suggest the meeting be at 9 a.m., which is just a proposal. It separates reality from a suggestion, a fact from a wish, and that kind of precision is sometimes absolutely essential. So, the subjunctive might be a ghost, but it's not invisible. At least not to you, not anymore. You'll start to hear it in formal writing, you'll see it in famous quotes, and you'll feel it in everyday wishes. Now that you're in on the secret, the only question left is, where are you going to spot it next?